moment they've been waiting for. What are the 3 secrets that you would go back in time and tell yourself to double where you're at today?
The biggest thing is,
All right, what's going on, guys? I have a 7-figure insurance agent here live on the channel today. His name is David Price. We're basically just going to ask him a couple questions. You guys threw a bunch of questions in the Facebook group, so I'm going to run through those. And then at the very end, David is going to reveal the 3 secrets that he would tell himself if he could go back in time to when he started insurance to double where he's at now. Now, granted, he already just made $1 million last year. He actually posted his W-9 into a Facebook group. I'll throw up a screenshot of that right there. You guys saw it in the thumbnail, but he's going to be showing you guys what he would do to double where he's at now. So be sure to stick around to the end of the video. David, what's going on, man? Welcome to the channel.
Not much, man. How's everything going?
Good, man. Good. It's good to have our first 7-figure insurance agent on Advanced Agent Marketing.
Am I the first, man? That's awesome, man. Thank you. I appreciate
first
you.
I know of, unless somebody's not telling me.
I think they would tell you in this industry, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I think it's usually the opposite. They say they're making 7 figures, but they don't send the proof.
Exactly. Yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen a W-9 of people saying that. I mean, I've heard so many like, oh, I made X amount last year, X amount this year, but I've never seen a W-9 posted to a Facebook group. That was the first.
The biggest reason I do that is I want people to know that I'm just a regular person. 10 years ago, I was sleeping on people's couches. I was unemployed. I didn't even have a car. I was dead broke, went through a bankruptcy. I mean, I had absolutely nothing. And, to be able to make over $1 million in a single year, my 4th year as a licensed insurance agent is pretty awesome. But I think everyone else has that same opportunity. And since so many people like to lie and exaggerate and make stuff up, I just thought it'd be really appropriate to just prove it. Just prove that what I say I do, that I do, and not to brag or boast, but to show other people that they have the same exact opportunity right in front of them. They just have to take advantage of it.
I love that. So you said this year is your 4th year in the business. Is that right?
So I'm working on my 5th now, but last year, 2022 is my 4th full year as a licensed agent. I got licensed May of 2018. Actually only made $30,000 that year. And the year before that, I was in Puerto Rico doing emergency power restoration and made about $250,000 in 6 months. So it was definitely humbling, putting pants on and trying to sell insurance. And we get paid peanuts for it because I did put a lot of time in. I know a lot of times people don't make a lot of money at first because they don't do what they're supposed to, but I was putting a lot of time in. And then over the next 2.5 years, I made $970,000, making 1 million cumulative income in 3 years, 36 months really of having my license. And then my 4th full year, I did it 1 million in 1 year, and hoping to double that this year. And so far on pace to do it, actually.
Kind of walk me through. I mean, you said 4th year in insurance, you made $1 million in take home. I've heard you been called the fastest millionaire in the insurance business, but like walk me through. I know you said before insurance, you were doing emergency restoration in Puerto Rico. So from then kind of walk me through the progression of 4 years to where you are now, pulling in 7 figures in income in 1 year.
Honestly, I think it starts really 10 years ago. Like I said, 10 years ago, I was, I just want to kind of go back a little bit and give some reference to the story, but I lost everything that I had, and I was actually battling with addiction. I was in New Jersey, and I was just like, dude, I just need to do something different. And I drove out to Louisiana. My father was staying there. Actually was staying on a fold-out couch at my grandma's house. Got out there by the girl I was dating, took her car. We went out together and went with like 2 bags. I had nothing at all. But the one thing that I did have is I just realized, like, dude, I just needed to do something different. And I got really humbled in life. I've been successful before that. And I've lost things before that. And I just got to the point where I was just like, dude, I just got to make some drastic changes. And to me, that's where the process started. So many people, they come to work with me in insurance, but they come with their ideas and they want to make some money that they've never made before. But they come with their ideas, right? So they've never made it before. With those ideas, they need new ideas. They need new thinking. They need to learn something new. And, I was learning something new about my life And, you know, I got job after job, better opportunity after opportunity. And I got to a point where I was doing well. You know, I was making six figures. I was doing disaster work. I made, like I said, $250,000 in 6 months in Puerto Rico. Was making money before the Hurricane Maria was in Puerto Rico. But at the same time, now I'm in my mid-30s, and you know, my life still wasn't what I imagined it to be. I wanted to be able to do what I want, where I want, how I want. And that was something that meant a lot to me. And I was living in Louisiana. I grew up by the beach, and I really miss being back by the beach. So even though I was making a lot of money, even though I was a business owner, I still didn't have the freedom that I wanted.
Sure.
So I started looking at different business opportunities. I wasn't even looking at insurance, and it wasn't on the radar. And I was thinking about open up a franchise. I thought that was good, right? Because that's a working business model. I was looking at maybe going to Florida and open up a gym because I like to work out a lot. I thought maybe that would give me the lifestyle that I wanted. And I'm just looking at different things. And one of my friends I was talking to, who also owned multiple businesses, pointed me towards my upline now, Doug, and said, man, Doug's making a lot of money selling insurance. And I heard insurance was a great business to be in. So I went and talked to him. I looked at what he was doing. And there's two things that were really important to me. And what I learned is leads are super important. You know, when I was in Puerto Rico, it's because there's a hurricane there. There's tons and tons of work that need to be done, right? Those are leads, right? That's a strong demand. So I look at leads like it's a demand. So the only question I asked was about leads. I didn't know about comp. I didn't even know what final expense was. And that's what I was going to be selling, right? It didn't matter. Like, do you sell a good product? Do you have a demand for it that's not being met? And can I do it? And can I teach other people how to do it? And will you have more leads for those people too? Like that was the only thing I was worried about. I started on an 80% commission. And I'm sure you jump in some Facebook groups and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to start at 80% commission. And they're going to tell you you're crazy. Well, it worked out pretty good for me.
You're going to get recruited.
Right.
That's what's going to happen.
So, but yeah, so I started on 80%, not knowing anything different. And I'm glad I did. Right. And, I knew I had to learn how to sell first, and then my plan was to teach other people. So from day one, I thought about it as a business owner. Like day one, I was the price group. You know, I was just one employee at the price group. That was it until I could find more good employees. And
did you start with the LLC? Did you initially like get an LLC, or were you just like kind of that was the mindset, or did you actually start as that kind of formation?
I think I might have got the LLC, knowing what I know now. That's not important. So I'm not a tax guy, so I don't want to give tax advice, but my understanding of LLC is to protect you from getting sued, right? I don't have an office that someone's going to come trip and sue me. So, you know, getting the business name and the LLC to me isn't important. To me, the first thing that's most important and what any agent would focus on is selling insurance, which is creating revenue for your business. I was actually just on a mentorship call. That's why I was a little late for this. And the person was asking about packets to send the client when they sell the policy. I was like, you haven't sold any policies yet. Let's sell some policies first. You know what I mean? Like that stuff's great, but like, dude, you're a business owner, whether you want to be or not, right? If you're 1099, you're a business owner and your business needs revenue. And you need to look at the things you're doing. Are they creating revenue? Right? Because they get so focused. I need a CRM. I need to get organized. I need files. I need an assistant. I need a welcome packet. I need an LLC. Like, no, you need revenue. You know, revenue will solve every other problem you have. Like then you can hire help to help you with this stuff. I just opened up some LLCs. I didn't do it myself. I told my assistant, hey, I need 3 LLCs and this is what I need. And this is what they're going to be doing, you know, real simple. Right. And then, but I did think of myself as a price group and, just went out, learning how to sell insurance. And I was talking to everyone about the opportunity the whole time. I was talking about everyone about the opportunity when I was getting licensed because I was freaking stoked. I seen how simple this was. I seen how scalable it was. And I truly believe that I was going to do something amazing with this simple platform. And that was my goal. So I was telling people about it. I didn't need to wait to see my success because I already talked myself into it. Too many people are like, oh, well, let me see how I can do. Right. To me, that's seeing that they're not even fully committed. Like I knew I was going to do great. I just didn't know when. So when somebody's like, oh, I want to see how I do before I tell anyone that you're telling me you're not committed. What do you mean you want to see how you're going to do? Like, why did you join me if you're not fully committed? Why did you join me if you don't think you're going to do great? You know, that's just telling me they're not, their mindset's not where it needs to be yet.
Right.
So 6 months into it, I was thinking to myself, man, I made more money. I would make more money working at McDonald's for time and a half than what I was making. Like, I literally thought that. I was getting pissed off, questioning a lot of things. And at that point, I'm like looking around at other companies and finding out there's bigger contracts out there, and maybe I don't have the right this or right that. And I started looking at a lot of other things. And then Hurricane Michael hit the Panhandle. And I was like, man, all my contractors are calling me up. Hey, we going to work? We going to work? We going to work? Because tons of money to be made there. And I really thought about it. You know, I thought about it. Matter of fact, I did go over there for 3 weeks to for a short job. I made $30,000 in 3 weeks, which is the same amount of money I made in the 6 months of having my insurance license, right, that year. So I doubled my income in just doing 3 weeks of storm work. And, you know, I was really second guessing my decisions. And then I had to get real with myself. And I realized that I was only 6 months into the business. So first of all, why do I think I should be successful 6 months learning, right? Like, I'm brand new. I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I'm making sales, but like, you know, I'm not a master at anything in 6 months. Right? I can't learn to play a guitar in 6 months. I can't learn a language in 6 months. Why the heck do I think I could be the best in final expense in 6 months? And then I had to realize that even if I quit then, I can't really say I started. You know, too many people, they tell me they quit. And that when I say back to them, I was like, hold on, did you even start? You know, and every single one, 100% say, I guess I did it. Right? Like, you know, at least they could be honest with me when I ask these questions, because 6 months, that's not even starting. You know, at least give yourself a year before you could, you know, make any real decisions on what you're going to do. And that's a year of following a system, not a year of hanging around watching Zoom meetings and studying, right? Yep. So 6 months in, I realized, you know what's messed up? My mindset. And I was looking at too many other things. I wasn't focused. And I realized I just needed to get my mindset right every single morning. And as soon as I would wake up, before I even got out of bed, I would grab my phone and I put a YouTube video on, and I would screen it to my TV. And it'd be like some kind of motivational YouTube video. And that would be playing throughout my apartment. I just had a little apartment at the time. And I would just get pumped up all day. So I'm eating breakfast, I'm taking a shower, like up until I left my house, I was just getting as pumped as possible. And I hired my first agent that produced right around there in December. I hired another committed agent as well. And within the next 6 months, my agency was doing $100,000 a month in production without me, all final expense, all one carrier, all one product. And then at that point, my income was enough to cover my bills. And that's when I stopped producing and I started fully focused on building my business.
This is a year in, right?
Yeah, so I only wrote business for 1 year. And you know what happened there, I didn't know. I was always wondering when that time would be to make that transition, because that was the goal, to make that transition, right? Because as long as I'm running business every single day, I'm not truly working on my business.
You're working in your business.
Right. Exactly. I'm stuck in my business. And I got 30 leads. I was a door knocker, so I didn't make appointments. And I went and I'm driving circles around houses because my agents keep calling me. And for 1 week, I didn't get in one house. So the next week, I'm like, man, I need 30 more leads. I need to get twice as much work done. So I'm going to need all 60 leads. This week, I got 30 more leads, and the same exact thing happened. So at that point, I knew it was time to mentor, train, and help other agents and hire agents.
I want to touch on that for a second, because I feel like a lot of people will have the question. I mean, maybe they're kind of like starting to build a small team, and the question is always like, when do you know it's the right time to get out of the field and focus fully on the agency? And from what you were saying, it sounds like it was literally up until the point where you couldn't even sell anymore. You were so busy with agents.
I was worried about the same thing. And I had someone recently say the same thing to me. And, you know, what I told them is, you'll know, like it will push you out. You know, when you can't sell anymore because you're helping your agents and that income covers your bills, that's when it's time to go, you know, and don't be, you know, I hear a lot of people that I hire, and there's like, yeah, my upline won't even talk to me and this and that. And there's two things. One, maybe they weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing when the upline did talk to them. You know, I know if someone keeps asking me the same questions over and over again, and then they don't do any of those things, you know, I may probably stop answering the phone for them. So that could be what happened. Or two, that upline's too busy about themselves that they don't want to help other people. And then what that tells me is they're not thinking about being a business owner, right? Because at the end of the day, you know, I look at every single person I hire is a business, right? If you want to work with me, like you're a business that I need to help you become profitable, and I get paid off you my entire life, you know? So I look at it like it's a franchise situation. Like we're just setting up McDonald's restaurants all over the place, but like I got to help you make money or else I don't make any money. So why the heck am, you know, because it's easier for me to write business and make more money. But, you know, if you really want to scale and create a 7-figure income, you're not doing it by yourself.
Do you think it's possible to reach 7 figures just personally producing, or you think you have to transition over to having agents under you?
You definitely can't do it by yourself and final expense. That's for sure.
Okay.
You know, I can't speak about every line or every situation out there. But yeah, if you're, yeah, I mean, and then why would you want to? Because the thing is, okay, cool. Let's just say you made, I don't think you can, but let's say you can make 7 figures on your pen, right?
90.
So now you're used to making a 7-figure income, right? And then you get in a car accident and you're out of work for 8 months. What just happened? You're screwed. You're right. All your bills are lined up for a 7-figure income. My 7-figure is in my sleep. I could not work out. I don't have to work one day this year and I'll make over $1 million. Right. It's all passive. So why would you want to put all that in, all those eggs in one basket?
So that's year one. You start building the team. You start, you know, having the agents. It's paying your bills. You're focusing on agency building. Sounds like at that point, maybe things kind of, you know, went up in like a hockey stick almost, just because you were able to focus so much on building the business. Is that right?
Yeah. So it's, you know, at first it's a little bit slow, but, you know, one thing I can say because of that, my income's basically pretty much grown every single month from there. Right. You know, very rarely would it ever go down or stay the same. A little bit, but then the next couple months, it makes up for it. So, you know, like I said, I made, I'll give you real numbers. So last year, I made $1.1 million. And I looked because I wanted to compare this January versus last January. This January, I made, I think like $110,000. Last January, I made 60,000. Right. So when you take a 1.1 million, you don't divide that by 12. And that's what it looks like. It was like 60,000, 65, 70, 75, 80, 90, 100, 105, 107, 112, something along the lines like that. Right. So it's just a constant growth. And if you go backwards, it was the same thing. So that's what happens when you build, because now I'm growing exponentially. So last week, we hired 49 agents. So about 25 of them were from my recruitment team, which is my recruiters, my ops manager, you know, some stuff that I've done. But the other 25 is from my managers growing babies, right? Them hiring people. So as, you know, we get bigger and I bring on more managers and more leaders, we start growing exponentially. And that's when you start seeing people, when you see, we get advanced statements daily, you start seeing people making money that you're like, oh, who's that person? Hold on, let me see who this is. You know, you start seeing you're making money off people you don't even know yet, you know, because you're growing at such a fast rate.
So this is kind of like year one transitioning into year two. And then when did you first hit the 7-figure income? Was that this year, or had you hit that in years past?
Again, just to be real transparent. So my you know, $30,000 my half year. My first full year was over 200,000. My second full year was over 500. The next year was over 7. And then last year was my fourth full year, which was 1.1 million. Right. So again, it was 50% to 100% growth each year. And you know, it just grew exponentially. So the process is learn how to sell, teach people how to sell, then teach people how to sell, but then ultimately teaching people how to build businesses, right? So now I have a full leadership team, and basically what I'm doing is I'm teaching them to do exactly what I did. Like, okay, cool, you're at this point now, this is what I think you should do. You're at this point now, your income's here, so I think you should invest a little bit more into this. And I start tweaking their businesses to try to get them to duplicate exactly what I did, and hope that, you know, in the next 2-3 years, I have 10 people that make $1 million a year. You know, and that's, you know, to me, that's when, you know, you built something really, really amazing at that point, right? Because that's just going to grow really fast. I mean, it's already growing fast, but like my thing is, if I want to look at how do I grow faster and bigger, I got to get more people in like, I call it like my middle class, who are making, $200,000-$300,000 a year, get those people where they're making $600,000-$700,000 a year. Right. Because as that grows, then the rest grows even faster.
So it's basically, it seems like it's kind of just like a game of duplication. Like, so first you duplicate yourself on the bottom level, which is actually producing as an agent, and then as somebody who's producing with agents under them, and then as somebody who's only just recruiting and building, and then, somebody who has people like that under them. So you're just continually moving up the ladder and then filling the space of where you used to be with new leaders.
Yeah, that's it, man. Just, finding talent and developing talent, and I think if, people look at the insurance industry and look at recruiting like it's this bad thing, right? And, it is, and it's crazy because look at any like company. So let's look at like Elon Musk and Bezos, like the rocket companies they have. Dude, they're constantly stealing people from each other, right? They're looking for the best talent that they can, or look at the Navy SEALs, right? So let's say the Navy's like, all right, cool. We got 30 SEALs retiring this year. And then with their demand, we might need like another 40. So we need 100 new Navy SEALs this year. They don't hire 100 people. They don't recruit 100 people to go to BUD/S, right? They start the selection process at like hundreds or thousands of people. And at the end of it, they know what numbers they have to work to get their 100 good Navy SEALs that they expect to graduate from BUD/S, right? It's a process that they have the math on. So any company, if Walmart is like, hey, we're creating 50 new positions, they don't hire 50 people. They have to hire like 100 people because they know 50 people, they can't just hire 50 people, they're not going to work out. So like that's any company, right? So when you start looking at your business, like you're a company and you're the CEO of your company, I want to have the best talented people. How do I find the best talented people? I need to go through a lot of people to find them. There's something people say, oh, you just throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. It's like, no, we're throwing everything against the wall and see who's committed. Because unfortunately, most people aren't going to commit. If I can get everyone to commit, man, my job would be real freaking easy, because I have someone committed fail. I mean, the people that are committed, that I build some trust to, they're the ones that I create, they become leaders, and I bring them into our recruiting program and help them build agencies. But the problem is people quit before they even get started.
I love that. And I mean, it kind of comes back to the whole like 6-month story that you're talking about, because I feel like there's like, just from talking to agents every day, there's so many people that don't make it past the first 6 months. And maybe the first 6 months for them is the first like year and a half, because they just keep delaying going all in. It's like they make a phone call or two a week and they hop on the Zoom calls to feel like they're doing something, but they never actually like fully commit for an entire year to see what can come of the business. And I love the part you said where it's not just throwing spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks. It's throwing spaghetti against the wall to see who's committed. Because at the end of the day, like, it's such a simple business. And I truly believe that anybody can learn to sell. It's just about how willing and dedicated they are to actually learn how to do it. Because like, it's not rocket science. We're not recruiting people to SpaceX or Tesla, like you mentioned. I mean, it's just like, can you make a phone call? Can you talk to somebody? Can you close them on a policy? It's very simple.
Yeah, that's it, and it's crazy that more people don't take advantage of it. I mean, I guess it's kind of good too, right? Because that's why they pay us as well as they pay us. I guess if everyone could do it, we'd just be getting getting a little salary or an hourly wage, right, to collect checks. Yeah. I definitely, it's cool when you see somebody who does see it and they're just like, oh, okay, or just says like, you know what, dude, I'm just gonna make this work, right? Or I've seen you did it, so I can do it, kind of deal. And they just fully committed, and you see them and you see their income go up. I mean, we just had 1099s, right? So it was really cool that I have all my people send me the 1099s, right? And I want to see what they made and what they did. And it's definitely good to see. Like, I have an agent. She was going to school to be a counselor in Louisiana. I never made more than $2,000 a month, single mom with 2 babies. And last year was her 3rd full year and she made $360,000.
That's insane.
Dude, it's insane. Like, it is so cool to like to be part of that. She sent me a Tumi bag for Christmas. You know what I mean? Like, so grateful for it, and it's so cool. I mean, she did the work. I show the way and we talk all the time and I coach and mentor her. But real simple, she could have been that person that quit. Heck, I like I said, I literally almost quit. So just think about what I would have missed, right? So when I see all these people quit, I'm just like, dude, like, look what you missed. Like this, my future could be your future. You could have done more than me, and you done half of what I did, and you would have been happy. I'm sure there's a lot of people that'd be happy with $500,000 a year.
All right, so I kind of want to get into some of the questions that we have from the Facebook group. First one I have is from Nick Redmond. He says, what non-business things do you do consistently that contributed the most to your success in business? So, basically like what in your personal life that you've done, habits you've built, do you think have contributed to your success in business the most?
That's a really good one, man. So, I shared earlier, I was like unemployed and everything. And, when I went to Louisiana, the reason I went there is I heard it was a good place to get a job on an oil rig. And I heard it was like a good place to make a pretty good living, right? So I wanted to work on oil rigs, and somebody said I could get your job, but it'd be cleaning toilets and washing dishes for basically minimum wage, right? $7.25 an hour. I mean, I used to manage people. I worked I worked in corporate America. Like that was nothing. Like the only time I worked minimum wage is when I was a teenager. I've never did it before, but I wanted to work offshore. So I was like, all right, cool. Like I just needed to get out there to start meeting people, meet the companies and stuff like that. And I knew that I would move up. And I wasn't worried about working for $7.25 an hour, even though, my last job before that was $70,000 a year salary, right? You know what I mean? I went from $70,000 a year salary to $7.25 an hour. And I was mopping floors and I was washing dishes. And dude, I just put my earbuds in, I listened to motivational stuff, and I mopped those floors and I washed those dishes. And so like whatever I did, at that point, dude, I just took pride in it. And it didn't matter what it was. Every morning I wake up, I make my bed and do whatever I am. I'm just trying to do everything to the best of my ability. And just doing that all the time and every day, trying to get better, it just builds a mental toughness in you. Yeah. And that mental toughness is going to help you with everything else. So, a lot of times people look at success like it's this big thing that's going to happen. And it's not. It's about doing all these small little habits. And when people ask me, how are you successful? By doing a lot of things I don't want to do. That's what it comes down to. I don't want to make my bed in the morning, but I do. Right? I don't want to do a lot of things that I do, but I do. And to me, that's what helps you become successful.
Have you ever read the book, The Slight Edge? Sounds like you're quoting it directly.
I haven't, but let me write it down. I'll check it out. Yeah, it sounds like a book.
It's like if you've read Atomic Habits, it's like very similar to that. It kind of goes deeper and like a different angle on it. But like I'm reading that book right now. Like it sounded like you were quoting it. It was kind of weird.
I got it from me.
All right. So next question I have for you. This one is from Julian Pulido. Is what is your schedule like? Like your day-to-day schedule? Like what is a day in the life of a 7-figure producer actually look like?
So today, right? So today I woke up, decided I want to go to Jeep Week for in Daytona. So I asked my girl if she could get off to go to Jeep Week. She told me what days. I booked an Airbnb for that, right? So the freedom to do that. But then 8:30, I was on a Zoom meeting, and basically I've been, at my computer working all day. I mentored some agents, welcomed some new agents that we had. I have a virtual call center that I run. So I jumped on there, made sure that people were talking on there, making sure that it was interactive, said hi to some people, answered a bunch of emails, definitely handle some admin stuff for when agents have some issues. Right now it's 5:40 Eastern time. I'll get off this, whenever it finishes. I'll make probably, I just saw a call come in. I'll probably make one more call, then I'll work out. And I also ran this morning. So I'll work out with some weights after that. And then I ran about 25 minutes this morning. Actually close to 30 minutes this morning. So I try to stay active and busy. I don't turn on the TV. The TV doesn't go on during the week. The only time TV will ever go on is on the weekend. I did spend like a decade of my life sitting watching TV. So I make a point not to do that, not to have idle time. So I just really want to make most of my time productive. But I start off with telling about the Airbnb in Daytona thing, because I can also be like, all right, cool, I'm going to go to Puerto Rico for a week. Yeah. Just like that, right? But so I make sure like I'm either really productive or I'm really relaxing, right? But I don't do this watch TV for a whole Saturday kind of deal, and so just you start learning to really, really cherish your time and make sure you take advantage of it, because at the end of the day, that's the thing we can't get back.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they print money out of nowhere. It's not.
I got all the money I need, man. I got barely enough time.
Exactly. Okay. That's a great answer. The next one is what is like the number one defect you see in agents that holds them back from hitting a 7-figure income?
The biggest thing is that just not being coachable. So many times I have agents, they reach out to me and they want to work with me and they want to be successful, but they still want to do it with their ideas.
Yep.
Or they like, all right, cool. You know, the way I did it, it's not the only way to be successful, but I'm successful. I work with one carrier, I sell one product. Right. So I have people be like, all right, cool. I'm going to add your carrier and add your product. Well, no, like you're missing the point. I do one carrier, one product because it's simple, it's duplicatable. Like you're welcome to add it, but don't expect to have the same results that I'm having by just adding what I'm doing. Like you need full laser focus commitment to do what I did. Like if you know a different way and it works, but like find someone to teach you that, you know, I can't teach you that because I haven't done it. So the biggest thing is they're just not coachable. They should, one, be finding somebody that has the success that they wanted, and then literally make sure they have access to them, because that's a huge one. And then just be like, all right, cool. Like, what do I do next? Like, that should be it. Like, what do I do next? Like, you know, and because at the end of the day, like to me, the most important thing is the ongoing mentorship. You know, let's say, you know, an agent starts with me, they're issuing 10,000 a month with their eyes closed. All right, cool. Let's see what, you know, if they want to make some money more as a producer, we could turn that up. But it's all right, cool. You're looking to build a business now. All right, let's start figuring out how you're going to find people, because, you know, selling insurance has a system, but so does building an agency has a system, right? Too many people, they'll invest $1,000 a week on leads to sell insurance, but they won't invest $1,000 a week to build a business. You know, because at the end of the day, you want to start taking that money and putting it over here. And at first, you're going to kind of match, but you know, it's all about how much you invest in your business.
I love that. That's awesome. Next question I have is, and this last one I think you're gonna like, because it's one that I get all the time, and you kind of answered it a little bit, but I think we're gonna ask like the full-on version of the question. I'm curious to see what you have to say. So the one before that is, what were some of the biggest mistakes you made in the beginning? You know, maybe after that 6-month period, because obviously the biggest mistake was just not fully committing, but like in the last, you know, 3.5 years or so, what would you say is the biggest mistake that you've made that you kind of wish you could go back and fix? Or maybe not wish that you could go back and fix, but just something you learned from?
The biggest thing, if I did it all over again, is, you know, I learned to sell in the field. I was a door knocker, selling final expense, direct mail leads, door knocking. And I believe that's the best way with final expense, if you have access to direct mail leads. But if I did it all over again, I would never have left my house. 100% on the phone. You know, I have 95% of my production is on the phone. I have a few people that just refuse to get on the phone and transfer over. But when COVID happened, luckily the carrier I'm with was already phone friendly. I guess I don't know if that's a thing, but the carrier's been selling the phone for way before COVID, you know, I think like 10, 20 years maybe. So when COVID happened, it was as simple as calling everyone up and like, hey, I know I told you never pick up the phone to make an appointment or call a client. Now, don't ever leave your house. You're only allowed to use the phone. And, you know, the month of April was the first full month of COVID. And I think a lot of people didn't really do anything that month. We actually had our best month 100% on the phone. And for that, every month we're having best months being in the field. So it really showed me what I missed. But the biggest thing is I see the lifestyle of a telesales agent versus a field agent. Because like I said, I was first house at 9 o'clock, which means I left my house at like 7 to get there and didn't get home till midnight, like most days of the week. But a telesales agent working from home, like they're at home, they're jumping on the phone, they're eating dinner at their house, you know, maybe a little exercise in, getting back on the phone. And when they're done, they're already home. And that to me is freedom. And
Do it from anywhere too. That's
anywhere. I mean, dude, I had agents selling in Mexico. I had an agent in the Philippines. I got agents in Costa Rica. So if I did it all over again, the field wouldn't even exist. There wouldn't even be a way to sell.
People ask me this all the time, is like, which product should they sell? And this specific question, this is from Jeremy Jaramillo. And he says, would you recommend focusing on IULs and annuities exclusively after working simplified issue final expense and mortgage protection after a year? And I'll kind of just throw this in as a follow-up question. Like, how would you structure a business? I think it's kind of obvious based off of how you structure yours, but for all the agents out there watching, how would you structure a business to scale to 7 figures as far as like which products to sell?
I love this question because I feel super strongly about it. And people are looking at it backwards, right? There's only one reason I sell final expense. It's because I have an abundance of good final expense leads. right? If that disappeared and dried up, well, now I would have to switch the product based on the demand, right? So someone that wants to do annuities, simple. Do you have an abundance of lead source of annuities? No. Well, why do you want to sell annuities? People get so caught up on the product instead of solving a problem, right?
Yeah.
I went to Puerto Rico because there was a hurricane and they had no power on the whole entire island. And I had a chance to provide power to that island. They obviously needed it, and they're going to pay me really good to do it because there's a strong demand. I sell final expense because we create 3,000 TV leads a day for final expense of carrier branded leads that are super, like, I mean, they're great leads, you know what I mean? They're not from a lead vendor, so that they're good, right? So until I max out that demand, I wouldn't sell another product, right? Why would I? Oh, I've been selling final expense for a year. I'm successful, so let me change my product. You know, just something I don't have a lead source for. It makes absolutely no sense to me. You know, so the thing is, people get so caught up on the product. If I could make $1 million selling volleyballs, because my friend called me up and said, "Hey, listen, we got these volleyballs. It's the colors. I don't know. People love them, but the phones are ringing off the hook, and we need, build a sales team to sell these volleyballs. You'll make 7 figures doing it." I'll be selling volleyballs. My whole thing is you want to look at a problem and solve that problem. If you don't have a lead, the lead's the problem, right? It's a demand. It's somebody calling and saying, "Hey, I need this. I'm interested in this." So they got it backwards. You find the lead source, and then whatever that is, that's what you sell.
I love it. So if someone were to start, an agency,
Sorry to be so direct.
Say what? What was the last part?
Sorry to be so direct.
No, dude, I freaking love it. That's how people that's how they need to hear it. That was perfect. So, I mean, if you obviously the way you structure your agency is pretty telling, but for someone who was to start from scratch, keep it as simple as possible, sell one product, solve one problem, and go where the demand is. For a new agent, would you recommend them to get into final expense or term or mortgage protection, or what would you recommend them to do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of final expense. I mean, first off, it's all I know, right? So I don't want to ever pretend I know everything. But the one thing that I really like about final expense, especially in the world we're in today, is it's bulletproof.
Yep.
Right? The economy's not going to mess it up. I know a big thing with mortgage protection right now is the cost of mortgage protection leads. And anyone that knows about direct mail dropping, there's no data because there's no mortgages. Right? When the mortgages go down, then the data goes down. When the data goes down, they have less people to mail to. When they have less people to mail to, less people fill it out, and it comes back, less come back, which just increase the cost of that lead. Right? We don't have that world in final expense. So I like final expense because it's bulletproof, it's fast, it's simple. I could write a policy today. I mean, it's later. I could have wrote one today and had an issue today. Where I bring people in from that other world, like, holy, I could get paid right away. I just got paid on something. Like I had somebody that you mentioned his name earlier, that got contracted, and they wrote a policy. They got contracted, wrote a policy that same day, and woke up with money in their account the next day. If that's not good for a new agent, I don't know what's better.
It's pretty solid. Awesome. Well, before we get to you unveiling the 3 sequences that you would go back in time and tell yourself to double your production of where you're at today, I want to ask you, if agents have been watching this interview, we'll probably won't cut much out of it because I think you've just been, shitting out value for about 40 minutes straight. Excuse my French there, but for people that have been watching this, enjoying the value they're getting from you, and maybe want to learn, if they could hear more from you or possibly, work at the Price Group, where could they go to get more information on that?
Yeah, appreciate that. tpglife.com is my website. From there, you can find my YouTube channel, my social media. David Price Official is most of my social media handles, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel as well. And this should be to find me. TikTok too, David Price Official as well. So I think hopefully you could Google David Price Insurance by now and be able to find me within the first 2 pages. I hope so. That's the goal. I'm competing with a pitcher, a well-known pitcher. So David Price isn't working out yet, but I'm working on it.
So for everyone that's been watching, the moment they've been waiting for, what are the 3 secrets that you would go back in time and tell yourself to double where you're at today, even though you just made $1.1 million this year of 2022? How would you double that? What are the 3 secrets that you would tell yourself?
The biggest thing is, be coachable, right? Find somebody that can show you the way. I have the roadmap to get where I'm at. I have a lot of knowledge. and I learned a lot of different things along the way. The person I am today is different than the one a year ago, which is different than 1 year before that, and I've made some mistakes, and I recognize them, and we learn, right? Just like anyone here that, went through life, when you're a teenager, you thought you had everything figured out, and then you started learning along the way, like, oh man, I was so wrong. So find somebody that has that experience, that's done it, because I didn't make $1 million, without learning a lot along the way that I can teach. So being coachable, having a positive attitude. So many people, they look at everything else as wrong, right? Like, take ownership, take responsibility for your success or lack of success, right? If somebody is having success with the same exact system that you're in and you're not, you have to look at yourself. Don't look at other people, don't blame it on other people. Have that idea that, if they could do it, you can do it.
Yep.
And like I said, there's a really good book, Extreme Ownership, that I read, and you're just taking full ownership over everything. And then work ethic, man. That's the one thing. When I started, I knew I wasn't the best at selling. I knew I wasn't the most technical. I make a ton of mistakes, but the one thing that I knew I had control of was my work ethic. And my goal, matter of fact, it's on my shirt right now: you will not outwork me. But
Did Adam Lindsay design that?
Yes, he designed that for me, actually. So you can buy my website, ppglife.com. What's that?
He said he was telling us about that at dinner a couple weeks ago.
So, but that was my thing. Like, when I first started, I was like, all right, cool. I don't have anything on anyone. I don't have any experience. I don't have anything. The only thing I can do better than anyone else at this time is outwork them. Yeah. And like I said, I worked as a door knocker. So in my head, I'm like, all right, cool. If these guys are doing 10 doors a day, I need to do 20. And if that math works out, and if I was right there, I could do 2 years worth of work in 1 year. And the same thing now, if I'm selling on the phone, I'm like, all right, cool. The guy next to me is dialing the phone 200 times a day. I need to dial the phone 400 times a day, right? Because, over a year's time, that's an extra year in work. Same with when you look at the compounding of hours. If I start at 10 o'clock every day, but then I decide I'm going to start an hour early at 9 o'clock, 5 days a week, that's 5 hours a week. That's 20 hours a month, right? That's, months worth of extra work if you compound that over a year, or a couple of years. So, understand that you can control your work ethic, and putting in as much work as you can. Like, my whole thing is I wanted to get to where I was successful. And I had an option. I could take my time, and it would take a long, long time, but I had a 6-figure income before insurance, and I wanted to get back to that. My goal was to get to $20,000 a month as fast as possible. So I just put myself in like pain until I got there. Like, I worked until I had tears in my eyes, because I knew once I got there, I would be saved. So definitely, make sure that you're giving it 100% every single day, and people are like, oh, well, I'm tired. Listen, I've laid on the couch and watched TV all day and still been tired. It's okay to be tired and work, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You're not gonna die from being tired and working. And the other thing too is, like, once you figured out who you're gonna work with, what you're gonna do, you're fully committed, you got your lead situation settled, that's it. Now fully commit. And don't talk to anyone else about working with them. Don't say, don't look around, stop shopping, like fully commit for a year. Because as long as you're looking at other people's grass, you're not watering your own. And that's one thing where I made a mistake, is I got to a point where I started looking at other things, and I realized that was killing me. That's why I don't even like, a lot of people like heavily recruiting people at other companies. I don't like doing it. If someone comes to me, I'll let them work with me, but I don't like hounding people like, hey, I could do it better for you. I give you a better contract. I don't like doing that, because to me, it's not fair to that individual, because they're not going to be able to be successful where they're at if I got them looking at me. So I want to give that person the best chance. So I leave them alone. So I think that was more than 3. I think that was 4, but I had to add that last one in there because it's super important to me. And that was probably one of the biggest mistakes I made, is letting myself start looking at other opportunities and talking to other people.
Dude, that was awesome. You just went like, I don't know if we have a fire extinguisher in this house, because we just moved, but if it's there, Julian, if you could find that, dude, because we might have to put something out. It's getting pretty hot in here. That was crazy. For like
Appreciate
an
it.
hour straight, you just spit fire. I appreciate you hopping on here and giving us your time, man. It means a lot.
Appreciate you asking me, man. Definitely an honor to be on the podcast, man. Be on your podcast. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. And guys, everyone who's watching this, I'm going to include a link down below in the description to, click on David's website. Be sure to check out his YouTube. I've scrolled through there. He's got a ton of valuable stuff on his channel, similar to what he was talking about for the last hour or so. So be sure to check that out. But without any further ado, thank you guys for hopping on. Right here, we got a video that you guys are going to love if you like this one. So be sure to watch it. But without any further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.